Hey everybody. You're probably wondering why my games are still in the background while they all disappeared. Well, that's just some really good editing. Sometimes it's a little too real. Now, if I stop playing games for even 3 days, I go feral. So I bought a Super Retro Trio Plus to fuel my addiction. Now, a bunch of reviews I've seen online are either 5 stars or 1 star. So let's see who's right and if I wasted my money.
Retro video games are cool, huh? Most of the time they suck ass, but saying you have Ecco the Dolphin in the case is a great icebreaker. Now sometimes it's kind of a pain in the ass to find the original consoles. They're not usually in stores, and when they're on eBay, the prices are usually jacked up to, well, that's just f***ing ridiculous. So what if you took a bunch of retro consoles and Frankensteined them together into one? You get shitty stitch lines.
The Super Retro Trio Plus is such a cool idea for a console, which is why everyone's doing it. There are so many aftermarket consoles like this. The Super Retro Trio Plus is always seen as the greatest version of it. So I bought the console and a bunch of NES and SNES and Sega Genesis games to test it out.
First, let's look at the actual console itself. There's this little flap in the front that basically reveals everything you need to mess around with. There's the original controller ports for the controllers, and it's really cool that you can even use the original controllers on this at all. The controllers packed in get connected to the SNES slot, and speaking of which, they're packed in controllers. Now, this is pretty much the exact same as an SNES controller, but that's perfectly fine. The buttons are nice, and it fits perfectly in your hands. The console can be connected to a TV using either HDMI or AV output. I prefer using AV output because it's more authentic. Now, there's 3 different flaps on the front of the console. One that lets you change between the packed-in controls and the originals, one that lets you change the aspect ratio, and one that lets you change the region, which is super cool if you're in a pickle.
Wait, what if I really want to play Marble Madness when I'm in Japan? Oh, this is perfect! Thank you, Retrobit.
On the top of the console, we have the cartridge slots, a reset button, and a switch that makes the console pick which game to run. Now let's see how these games actually play. Going down the list of cartridge slots, let's start with the Sega Genesis. Now this controller doesn't work perfectly with Genesis games, but it does the job. Now the games themselves work perfectly here. The visuals and audio are spot on and there's no input delay. These genuinely could not work better. This is one of the only aftermarket consoles that play right off the hardware, and this really shows it. Next up, we have SNES games. Now, the controller packed in works way better here than on Genesis. I wonder why.
No, seriously, I don't know what's up with the controller I'm using.
The visuals look just as good as on original hardware, but the audio seems a little weird. The music is fine, but a lot of sound effects have a slight bass boost to it. It doesn't make the games unplayable, but it's something you need to get used to. And then we have the NES. Now, all of my NES games disappeared alongside the rest of my games, so I had to buy a second copy of Excitebike just for this. What the f*** is this? The NES games on this thing are awful! The visuals are disgusting, everything is so saturated! Why does anything with even the slightest bit of yellow become the most blinding yellow I've ever seen? The audio is just slightly pitched up, and it's just enough to really piss me off. Oh, don't even try to play any Mario game with this controller.
Sorry, I just really need to get that out.
This thing is a mixed bag. While there's so many options for any type of player, and Sega Genesis games play absolutely magnificently on here, the audio problems with the SNES games and the fact that NES games are f***ing disgusting on this makes this feel sort of like an deal to me.
Now, if you really want to play retro games and you just hate the idea of getting the original consoles, this is nice, but keep an original NES on standby. So, I'm stuck with these 7 games for the foreseeable future. But, you know, maybe I could get my worth out of them by using them as target practice.